What if the only thing holding you back was the way you see yourself, not your talent, not your resources, not even the people against you? Just the quiet, invisible belief that maybe you're not meant to win, that maybe greatness belongs to someone else. That voice, it's the first enemy, the one inside your own head. And here's the truth. The world doesn't crown the most qualified. It crowns the most convinced. The ones who walk like they've already earned it. The ones who speak like their name holds weight. The ones who don't hope to be the best. They decide they already are. You've spent too long asking for permission to shine. Too long waiting for a moment that never arrives. But power doesn't come when the world says you're ready. It comes the moment you stop waiting. The moment you stop apologizing for your intensity, for your hunger, for your vision. You weren't made to shrink. You weren't born to follow. Somewhere along the line, you just learned to forget who you are. They told you to be humble, to fit in, to be nice. But deep down, something in you burned. A part of you still believes you're meant for more. Not just to survive, but to dominate. To take up space. To lead. That part of you, it's not arrogance. It's memory. A memory of your real identity before the world tried to rewrite it. And that's why you must act like the best now. Not someday. Not when you get the job. Not when you hit the goal. Now when you hit the goal. Because when you act like the best, your mind catches up, your habits sharpen, your posture shifts. You stop chasing people who don't value you. You stop explaining yourself. You stop doubting what you bring. You walk into every room like you were born for it because you were. There's no secret door to confidence. No perfect day where everything aligns. There's only a decision. You either believe in yourself before the results come, or you stay trapped, waiting for evidence that only shows up after you move. So move. Now, decide. Carry yourself like the room needs you, like you have nothing to prove and everything to offer. People feel energy before they hear words. They respect presence before they respect titles. So build yours. Let them wonder what makes you so certain. Let them feel it before they understand it. And here's why you stay. Because once you change your posture, your world changes with it. People treat you differently. Opportunities open. Not because you begged, but because you stopped playing small. This video isn't just motivation, it's your turning point, your reminder. You don't rise by waiting, you rise by becoming, and you become the best when you act like it, relentlessly, unapologetically now. Stay with me. You're about to remember who you are. People don't respond to talent first. They respond to belief. Not theirs, yours. The way you carry yourself sends a signal. Before you open your mouth, before they know your story, they feel something. A tension. A presence. Or a weakness. Confidence isn't invisible. It's magnetic. It's the silent pressure you create by existing like you already know who you are. Like you already know they need what you have. Most people wait to be validated before they believe in themselves. But those who rise fast, those who dominate quietly, they flip the formula. They believe first, then they force the world to catch up. The human brain craves certainty. Oh, it trusts what looks unshakable. It gravitates to what appears sure. You don't even need to be the most skilled. If you look like you know what you're doing, people hand you power. It's psychological gravity. What dominance isn't in how loud you are. It's in how you make others feel smaller by needing less. When you walk like you already belong, people don't question it. When you speak like your words carry consequence, they lean in. When your eyes say, "I don't need your approval," they chase it anyway. That's why acting like you're the best isn't a game. It's a strategy. It programs your mind and rewires your identity. You're not pretending. You're practicing. You're conditioning every cell in your body to align with the person you were always meant to be. And slowly, the world bends to that image. Because energy is contagious. Doubt spreads. So does conviction. Walk into any room with your head lowered, shoulders weak, tone hesitant, and you train them to ignore you. Walk in like you're already the answer. And they start to question what they missed. This isn't arrogance. It's control. Control of perception. Control of outcome. Control of yourself. When you decide to act like the best, you stop reacting to other people's standards. You stop adapting to their comfort. You set the tone. You become the reference point. People measure themselves against you, not the other way around. That's the power you unlock when you stop waiting to deserve it. And the best part, it becomes real. The more you commit to this mindset, the more your behavior changes. You take risks you used to fear. You speak with clarity instead of apology. You move with purpose instead of hesitation. The results follow the identity, not the reverse. So the longer you act like the best, the faster you become it. It's not about ego, it's about alignment. When you carry the energy of someone who refuses to lose, even life starts treating you differently. This is how power works. It doesn't ask, it doesn't explain. It shows up, owns space, and dares the world to try and look away. That's what you're becoming. Someone impossible to ignore. Not because you're loud, but because you radiate the one thing most people will never master: complete certainty in yourself. And once you lock into that energy, nothing and no one can stop you. The most dangerous habit you've been taught is waiting. Waiting until you feel ready. Waiting until someone chooses you. Waiting for the world to recognize what you already know deep down. You were meant for more. But the truth is brutal. No one is coming to crown you. No one is going to walk up and hand you permission to rise. If you want the throne, you take it. If you want power, you claim it. Power respects movement, not hesitation. The people you admire didn't wait to feel worthy. They acted with certainty, even when everything around them said otherwise. That's what separates the dominant from the forgotten. You can't keep asking the world to believe in you while you hesitate to believe in yourself. That contradiction is killing your momentum. It makes your energy weak, your voice uncertain, your presence forgettable. Authority isn't given, it's embodied. And the ones who win are the ones who decide they've waited long enough. They stop doubting their instincts. They stop explaining their intentions. They move fast, bold, clear, without the need for applause. Because power doesn't crave validation. It creates outcomes. That's the shift you make the moment you act like you've already arrived. No more seeking approval. No more chasing recognition. Your greatness isn't a question. It's a decision. You either decide to live at full volume, or you settle for a life spent whispering your worth. There's no in between. The second you act like you've earned the space you're in, everything changes. People treat you differently. Rooms react to you. Doors that were once locked start opening. Not because you begged, but because you walked like someone who never even noticed they were shut. The world mirrors your self-perception. When you carry yourself like you're waiting for something, life delays. But when you act like the outcome is already yours, life begins to organize itself around that belief. This isn't fantasy. This is alignment. Your energy teaches others how to treat you. Your posture teaches others how to value you. Your voice teaches others how to listen. And all of it starts with one shift. Stop waiting to be chosen. Start moving like you were born chosen. You're not here to fit into systems that never saw your value. You're here to build your own, to carve space where none was offered, to speak with the weight of someone who knows their words matter, and to make every decision as if failure isn't even part of the equation. That's not delusion. That's power. You've waited long enough. The crown doesn't sit on hesitation. It rests on the head of the one bold enough to reach for it without asking. So stand up, step forward, speak with fire, act like you were made for this moment, because you were. And the second you do, you'll stop chasing power and start becoming it. The second you stop asking the world for permission, you begin to rewire your identity. Not just how others see you, but how you see yourself. That's where real power starts. It's internal. Quiet at first, but it grows fast. Every time you walk like you own the room, even if you feel the doubt in your chest, you're training your nervous system to accept dominance as your baseline. You're shifting from being a reactor to a creator. That shift is everything. Because the world doesn't belong to the reactive. It belongs to those who decide who they are and never flinch when challenged. This is more than mindset. It's psychological warfare. You're either conditioning yourself to lead or being conditioned to follow. There is no neutrality. Every day, you're reinforcing one identity, the underestimated or the undeniable. And if you don't deliberately choose the latter, life will make the choice for you. You must show up with an aura that says, I am not here to be tolerated. I am here to take over. You don't beg for a seat, you redesign the entire table. That's the standard now, not survival, not progress. Total dominance over your own narrative. You've been shrinking for too long, diluting your tone so people feel comfortable, lowering your intensity so they won't call you too much. But too much is exactly what changes the game. Too much ambition, too much self-respect, too much certainty in who you are. You don't need to be liked. You need to be felt, the kind of presence that lingers long after you've left the room. The kind that makes people adjust themselves the moment you enter. That's not fantasy. That's power, and it's available the moment you stop apologizing for your fire. Because you're not just playing a game of goals. You're playing a game of energy. Who bends first? Who hesitates? Who doubts? That's what separates the winners. The one who bends last is the one who walks away with everything. And that starts with the refusal to shrink, even when surrounded by noise, opinions, judgment, or resistance. You stay tall. You stay locked in. You stay committed to the version of yourself that doesn't need proof to believe. Because proof is the consequence of belief, never the requirement. You have to decide you're done negotiating with your potential. No more compromising. No more hoping to be seen. You see yourself. You validate yourself. And because of that, you elevate yourself. You don't chase influence. You command it. With every word, every step, every breath that says, I am the standard. I don't compete, I dominate. That's what the world respects. That's what makes you unforgettable. When your energy becomes non-negotiable, so does your outcome. You're not here to take part. You're here to take control. Start moving like it. Think like it. Speak like it. Become impossible to deny. Because once you lock into that mindset, no resistance stands a chance. A chance. There is a reason the world follows those who act like they can't be broken. It's not luck. It's not timing. It's presence, engineered and intentional. The power you project becomes the authority others obey. Not because they understand it, but because they feel it. That feeling comes from the way you move, the way you speak, the way you sit in silence like it answers to you. You don't build influence by forcing it. You build it by mastering yourself so completely that nothing outside you can shake what's within. People feel that, and they submit to it. When you stop being emotionally available to every opinion, every doubt, every subtle rejection, you stop bleeding power. Attention is currency. Energy is leverage. Where you place both determines who holds control. So you take both back. You walk with such inner calm, the chaos around you grows quiet. You hold your expression so still, people second-guess their assumptions. That's the psychological edge. You don't have to prove yourself to anyone. You just have to be so grounded in who you are that they can't unsettle your core, no matter how they try. This is not about pretending to be untouchable. It's about becoming untouchable through discipline. You don't speak to convince, you speak to confirm. You don't argue to win, you let silence expose their weakness. The less you explain, the more they wonder. The less you react, the more power you absorb. Most people bleed influence trying to be understood. You gain it by becoming a mystery they want to solve but never can. That's the magnetic force you cultivate when you carry yourself like you are already above the noise. Every second you hold your frame, you train the world how to treat you. If you let their doubts in, you shrink. If you let their fear infect you, you hesitate. But when you stand firm, emotionless, controlled, unshaken, they collapse before you even speak. Because people want to follow strength. They crave certainty. And if they can't find it in themselves, they will find it in you. That's why you don't adjust your presence to match the room. You make the room adjust to you. It's not about arrogance, it's about composure. When you stop flinching under pressure, you become the one others look to when the storm hits. You become the calm and the chaos, the strategy and the confusion, the answer and the unknown. That's what separates the respected from the ignored. They hold their center, they lead with unspoken confidence, and they don't chase power, they embody it. That's what you're building with every decision to remain firm, with every moment you reject the urge to seek validation. With every breath you take that says, I know who I am, and I don't need you to agree. That's the highest form of power, not loud. Not desperate, just undeniable. You're not reacting anymore. You're controlling the frame. And once you control the frame, you control everything. Most people never realize that the frame they operate from isn't theirs. It was given to them. Shaped by opinions, rejections, failures, and silent judgments. So they live reacting to invisible rules, shrinking their potential to fit into molds designed to keep them predictable, safe, average. But the second you decide that you're no longer available for those limits, everything begins to shift. You stop playing by their expectations. You start imposing your own. Not through force, but through certainty. Through the quiet, immovable belief that you are the one who sets the standard and nothing outside of you gets a vote. That's how you flip the dynamic. You stop entering rooms trying to be accepted. You walk in knowing acceptance is irrelevant. You're not there to seek comfort. You're there to bring disruption. Controlled, focused disruption, the kind that shakes the atmosphere just by being present. You don't adjust your intensity to match the people around you. You increase it until they're forced to rise or retreat. Why? That's how influence is created, not through effort, but through energy. When your internal world becomes stronger than any external pressure, you start to dominate without even speaking. It's not about pretending to be above others. It's about refusing to operate beneath your potential. Every time you act from a lower frame, doubting yourself, hesitating, needing reassurance, you reinforce a version of you that doesn't exist anymore. That version was trained to obey, to please, to wait, but you've outgrown that identity. You are no longer waiting to be empowered. You are power, power in motion, power that speaks less but means more, power that doesn't react but redirects. You're not just building confidence, you're destroying weakness. Every second you hold your ground, you kill the part of you that used to need permission. And the world responds, not because it wants to, but because it has no choice. People follow the one who moves without fear. They respect the one who carries pressure like it's air. They obey the one who never flinches when challenged. That's what you become when you stop performing and start commanding. You lead yourself first. You become your own source of validation, momentum, and direction. That's when others begin to orbit you. Not because you asked, but because gravity doesn't negotiate. And when your presence becomes that heavy, people feel it before they hear it. That's influence. That's control. That's what happens when you no longer dilute your identity to keep others comfortable. You embrace your full intensity, your full ambition, your full truth. And in doing so, you force the world to adapt, not the other way around. This is the moment where your evolution becomes non-negotiable, where you stop explaining your worth and start assuming your dominance. Or not trying to become anything, you're revealing what's already been buried under years of hesitation. Now it rises, now it breathes, now it leads. You are no longer someone trying to win approval. You are the force they'll remember because you stopped asking to be noticed and decided to be impossible to ignore. Once you stop seeking to be understood, you start becoming undeniable. The need to be explained is the need to be accepted, and that need is a weakness predators can smell. Power doesn't explain, it imposes. It doesn't ask for a platform, it becomes the platform. This is where most people fail. They're still trying to be palatable, still trying to package themselves in a way that makes others comfortable, but comfort is not the path to power. Comfort is compromise in disguise. Every time you dilute your message, your presence, your hunger, you signal submission. And once you've submitted, you've already lost. To command respect, you must move like you've already earned it. Not arrogantly, calmly, without justification, without noise. Your existence becomes the evidence. Your focus becomes the proof. When you walk with that energy, people notice even if they can't explain why. They adjust their tone. They question their own certainty. You don't need to intimidate them. You just need to be unapologetically clear. Clarity is rare. Most people are fog. They move with doubt, they speak with hesitation, they live with one foot on the brake. So when you show up with precision, they feel it in their gut. That's where influence begins, not in their ears, but in their instincts. They don't have to like you. They don't even have to understand you. They just need to feel your momentum and recognize that standing in your way is a mistake. That's what you become when your energy aligns with your conviction. No more explaining, no more asking, no more waiting to be interpreted correctly. You show up. You act. You move through resistance like it doesn't exist. That's the standard now. Your standard. And once it's set, you never drop beneath it for anyone. This level of power is earned in silence, in solitude. In moments where no one claps for you, no one validates you, no one even notices you. It's earned when you keep going, not because someone told you you're good enough, but because you decided there's no other option but domination. That's what separates the feared from the forgotten. They don't need cheerleaders. They don't need witnesses. They move as if destiny already bowed to them. And eventually it does. Every time you choose silence over explanation, presence over performance, action over overthinking, you rise, not just in status, but in frequency. You start vibrating at a level that repels weakness and attracts respect. The world won't understand it. It doesn't need to. It only needs to obey it. Because the laws of power are primal, ancient, psychological. When you embody certainty, others feel it as law. You stop trying to fit in. You stop aiming to be included. You create your own category, one they can't copy, compete with, or ignore. You become the outlier that defines the edge. That's not a role, it's a responsibility. And it begins the moment you decide you will never again explain who you are. You'll simply become it. Loudly, clearly, and permanently. When you stop apologizing for your intensity, you finally step into your true identity. The world conditions you to play small, smile more, ask less, dim your brilliance to keep others comfortable. But there is nothing noble about making yourself invisible. You were not built to blend in. You were built to dominate in silence, to influence without approval, to rise without applause. And the ones who rise the highest are never the ones who waited for permission. They moved forward without it. They acted as if they were already chosen. That's not delusion. That's self-command. And it's the only language power understands. You do not need to feel ready to take control. Readiness is a myth sold to keep you still. If you wait to be fully prepared, the moment will always pass. But when you move with the energy of inevitability, you become unstoppable. It's not about arrogance. It's about knowing that your presence alone carries weight. You are not here to be tolerated. You are here to be felt, respected, remembered. That doesn't happen by accident. It happens by declaring internally without words that nothing around you defines what's possible, only you do. That declaration shifts your posture. It changes your tone. It alters the way others perceive your existence. They sense it without knowing why. The unshakable calm, the direct gaze, the unbothered silence. You don't try to prove your strength. You simply live as if it's the only truth. That inner conviction speaks louder than any performance ever could. People feel drawn to it because most of them are lost in noise. You, on the other hand, are rooted, anchored, focused. You don't follow energy, you set it. That's what happens when your self-image is forged by internal fire, not external reaction. You can't fake this. You can't simulate presence with words or mimic power with style. It's built in the dark where nobody sees you, but you keep showing up. It's forged in the tension between who you are and who you refuse to remain. Every moment you choose discipline over ease, focus over distraction, and belief over doubt, you reinforce the version of you the world will eventually bow to, not because they want to, but because they'll have no choice. Power doesn't wait for acceptance, it enforces reality. Your reality is no longer based on the past. It's sculpted by decisions made in defiance of it. Every time you act like you're already the best, even before the world agrees, you plant a seed that will grow into dominance. It's not about pretending, it's about becoming. Every breath, every thought, every step aligned with the identity you've already chosen, unshakable, unstoppable. This isn't mindset, this is warfare. Quiet, precise psychological warfare. The battlefield is internal. And every time you refuse to shrink, you win. Every time you walk with certainty, even when results haven't arrived yet, you build momentum. You're not waiting for greatness. You're stepping into it now because you act like it's already yours. Every time you choose action over hesitation, you train your mind to trust you. That trust is the foundation of real power, not the kind that needs to be shouted, but the kind that enters quietly and shifts everything. Confidence doesn't appear when things go right. It appears when you've decided that nothing outside of you can define. When your standard becomes untouchable, your value becomes non-negotiable. You no longer ask if you're worthy, you decide you are. That decision turns pressure into fuel, silence into strategy, and rejection into redirection. Nothing weakens a person more than waiting for the world to validate their fire, and nothing strengthens you faster than acting like that fire is already burning. You become dangerous when you no longer need to be liked, when your focus shifts from being accepted to being effective. When you stop counting approval and start counting wins, every move you make from that energy becomes sharper. You speak less, but your words hit deeper. You move slower, but your presence weighs more. You aren't just operating with intention, you become the intention. That's what presence truly is. We glow. Not loudness, not flash. Presence is the psychological pressure of someone who knows exactly who they are and refuses to be anything else. This isn't about pretending to be strong. It's about refusing to break. You will feel doubt. You will feel fear, but you won't surrender to either. Because your identity is no longer tied to your emotions. It's tied to your mission. When that happens, you stop reacting and start creating. You shape the narrative. You bend perception. You own the silence between words and the space between moments. That control isn't given. It's taken. It's taken. Through discipline, through grit, through the relentless decision to never again make yourself small so others can feel secure. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to be deliberate, consistent, ruthless with your time, your thoughts, your standards. Every time you protect your energy from doubt, from distraction, from low-frequency people, you build a foundation that can't be shaken. They'll try to understand you. They won't. They'll try to measure you. They can't, because you stopped being readable the moment you stopped living for their script. You rewrote your own, not with ink but with action, not with hopes but with habits. You became the kind of person whose identity is backed by evidence. No need to argue. No need to explain. You are the proof. And because you act as if you are the best, not out of arrogance, but out of unshakable commitment, you begin to generate force. Force that cannot be ignored. Force that isn't explained. It is felt. That is the energy of someone who has already won mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. And that win, repeated every single day, becomes inevitable. Not just for you, but for everything around you. Because when you move like no one is better, they either rise to meet you or they fall behind forever. Power doesn't come from loud moves, it comes from quiet certainty. It's not the person who talks the most who leads, the one who doesn't need to talk at all. When you walk like your decisions are final, when your presence speaks louder than explanation ever could, people start adjusting around you. Not because you demanded it, but because you broadcast an invisible signal. You don't fold. You don't flinch, you don't seek, you act, you expect. You dominate internally, and the world reflects it externally. That kind of energy can't be faked. It's earned in the moments when no one is watching and everything inside you wants to quit, but you don't. You keep moving forward without applause, without validation, without proof that it's working. Because at that level, proof is irrelevant. You become the proof. Your consistency becomes the argument. Your standards become the filter. You stop chasing people, opportunities, or praise. Everything that's not aligned with your level begins to fall away, not because you pushed it, but because it doesn't match your frequency anymore. You rise and the noise beneath you fades. That silence is not loneliness, it's clarity. It's the space where your next level is born. You no longer need to compare yourself. You're not trying to be better than anyone else. You've already decided that no one is better than you, not because you think you're flawless, but because you understand something most people never grasp. Self-respect is the foundation of all influence. You set the tone by how you treat yourself. And when you refuse to betray your own potential, when you keep promises to yourself without exception, you start radiating something rare, unshakable value. Others can feel it. They may not know why, but they instinctively recognize that you are not to be taken lightly. That kind of energy doesn't beg, it doesn't negotiate, it doesn't ask for a seat, it becomes the table. And once you become the table, the game changes. You're not applying, you're selecting. You're not impressing, you're evaluating. Your time, your energy, your focus, each becomes sacred. That shift isn't just mindset, it's identity. You no longer perform for attention. You attract respect by who you are, how you move, and what you no longer tolerate. You hold your power in the pauses, the restraint, the way you carry yourself like you already know the outcome because you've already claimed it internally. That internal claim is what separates you from the masses. They react. You respond. They wish. You work. They hope. You declare. You declare. The difference isn't in skill, it's in certainty. You're no longer waiting to be crowned. You're walking as if the crown is already yours. That doesn't make you arrogant. It makes you focused. And focus is power. Power that doesn't need to announce itself because its results will always speak louder than words. You're not here to compete. You're here to dominate. Quietly. Relentlessly, permanently.